We're studying the end times. This is our second lesson on the end times. And last week we talked about the end of the world and what that actually meant, the end of the world. And we're gonna talk about the end times today, about signs of the times. Now, I'm not going to finish up this week. We're going to do the signs of the times this week and at least next week, maybe even a third week after that. And we're talking about the signs of the times in the end times. It'll be a Bible message, just a lot of scripture here. I want to show you some things that are happening and maybe get an idea and understand some things that there maybe a little people don't understand sometimes when they talk about the end times. I know I learned something even this morning, restudying some things. Matthew 24 is where we're going to start off today. Matthew 24 and verse 3. And Matthew 24, the Olivet Discourse and the chapter on the end times. Help us understand that. Matthew 24 and verse 3. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, his disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world? There's those three questions. When shall these things be? What shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world? Jesus answered and said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars, and see that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. And all these things are the beginning of sorrows. All right, let's go ahead and we'll have a word of prayer and we'll get into this. Father, thank you for the chance to look into the Bible, Lord, as we are doing things a little different today. We pray your Spirit would move in a mighty way. We just talked about the Holy Spirit's power and the unlimited power of God, that he is God and he dwells inside of us, rivers of living water inside of us. Lord, that kind of power should make an impact, and we pray that he would today in a mighty way speak to our hearts, put our minds where you want them on eternal things, and impact our lives and speak to us about the signs of the times. We pray that you would just control the message and do a mighty work. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. This verse 8 it says, all these things are the beginning of sorrow. So the question is asked, three parts to the question they asked him. They said, when is this going to happen? What will be the signs of your coming? And what about the end of the world? And what are these things? And Jesus gives a list of things that are going to start coming, but he says those aren't the end. He says you'll see different things. You shall hear of wars and rumors of wars, and many shall come in my name, saying they're Christ, and nation will rise against nation. There's diseases and famines. But then he says in verse 8, all these things are the beginning of sorrows. Sorrow, the word means a pang, especially of childbirth. You would understand when it says these are the beginning of sorrows, you would understand that these are the start of the contractions. It's labor pains. And so we've had, of course, 7 opportunities to go through this, my wife and I, and by the time we got done, we got pretty good at it. But my wife is really, really tough, and my wife usually waits until it is last minute. And she might tell me sometimes, she'll say, honey, I'm starting to have some contractions, and that can mean anything, because you have contractions days before and weeks before, and some people have contractions, months early, and they gotta go. Sometimes they have to be bedridden because the contractions are happening so early, and but you don't know exactly when the baby's coming, but those contractions start telling you as they get more intense. Usually when you get the doctor, she'll say, okay, it's time to go. And it's like, it's time to go. And we'll get the doctor. And the funny thing is, we'll get to the hospital and they always say, okay, let's take you in the room and da-da-da. And I'll say, no, my wife does not say it's time until the baby's about here. And they'll say, okay, we understand. Let's put her in there. And every single time they go ahead. And then all of a sudden they'll come back out and say, she's dilated at 8. We got to get ready. And they all start running. I told you that. And I've had that so many times. We've done that thing. And one time one of my kids came before the doctor ever made it. The nurse had to deliver the baby 45 minutes after we got to the hospital. And but you don't know exactly when it's coming, but the labor pains tell you, they're getting intense. And then even the first baby, that sometime along the way, the mommy will say, honey, the baby's coming. Because it's getting different. It's way intense, and it's a sign. Now, it doesn't say it's coming in, honey, I'm going to tell you, in 4 hours, 11 minutes. It's not like that. It's just a sign that it's getting closer. And the Bible says, these are the beginning of sorrows. And that word is for labor pains. This is the beginning of labor pains. It's not the end, but it's telling you that it's getting close. Let me keep your finger in Matthew 24 if you're turning there. But if you're just listening, I'm going to go to 1 Thessalonians. If you're turning, 1 Thessalonians chapter 5. It says it's similar. 1 Thessalonians 5, in a similar chapter, it says this. It says, but at the times and the seasons, brethren, ye have no need that I write unto you. These seasons and times, the signs of the times. For yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so cometh as a thief in the night. For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. But we, brethren, are not in darkness, the day should overtake us as a thief. So, we're going to teach more on this passage another time, but it says, look, nobody knows when Jesus is coming. He comes like a thief in the night. But there's signs. And if we watch, it won't overtake us as a thief in the night. We will not know when. We'll see a lot of verses that say that, because nobody knows when Jesus is coming. But it talks about, in that same passage in 1 Thessalonians 5, it again says like a woman with travail in birth, it just comes. It comes suddenly. But the travail in birth, which is pushing the baby out, is not the first sign. But people will come into the end times having no eyes to watch it, and suddenly it's birth time. And they're not ready. They're driving down the road. But those who are watching will see the birth pains, will see the labor, will feel the labor pains, will see what's happening and say, it is getting near. Let's go pack our bag. Let's go get the car. Let me call my husband and have him come home from work. Why? Because the baby's not coming yet, but you can see things. I don't know when it's coming, honey, but I think you maybe should come home. You follow? Yep. So that's what it says when it's talking about these are the beginning of sorrows. Those things that he just mentioned there are telling us that when you see these things coming, you begin to see that it's coming near. And though you don't know exactly when, it won't come upon you unaware. And when you start seeing signs of the times, biblical signs of the times, it doesn't mean you say, oh, now Jesus can come. Jesus could come at any time. Okay, there's lots of verses that will say that. He can come at any moment. He can come and nobody will know when he's coming. But those who are watching carefully will see the beginning of sorrows, because the tribulation is sorrows. It's a destruction of the world. It's a terrible time. Let me take you to Mark chapter 13. Mark chapter 13. So we look for signs of the times. It does not mean, okay, I saw the signs of the time. Jesus is coming back in 11 days. Anybody tells you that, write them off. They're crazy, because Jesus says no man knows the day of the hour. Yep. And you know it's not coming. And it's a weird thing. You get some nutbag somewhere who goes and crazy guy, loony bin, and he goes out and he says, Jesus is coming back on September 24th. And every newspaper and broadcast in the world broadcasted he said that. You got 16 million preachers get up here and saying, we don't know when he's coming back. The Bible says no one knows. Never a peep out of the news. One crazy, and we all condemn that guy. And they act like he's a mainstream Christian. No, anybody who sets dates is exactly going against what Jesus said. Amen. Nobody knows when it's going to happen. It's imminent. It could happen at any moment. You don't know when this whole thing starts and all these things. No man knows all these things. Mark 13 and verse 32, we're told pretty strongly about this to pay attention. It says, but of that day and that hour knoweth no man, except for TV preachers. No, not the angels which are in heaven. Angels don't even know. Neither the Son, but the Father. Jesus says, Father hasn't even told me when it's going to happen. When Jesus was on earth and didn't have perfect knowledge, he said, I don't know. And it's not for you to know. And he says that several times. Take ye heed, watch and pray, for you know not when the time is. For the Son of Man is like a man going on a far journey, and left his house, and gave authority to his servants, and to every man his work, and commanded his porter to watch. Watch therefore, there's our word again. He told every man to watch. Watch therefore, for you know not when the master of the house cometh, whether at even or at midnight, or the cock crowing, or in the morning, lest coming suddenly he find you sleeping. And what I say unto you, I say unto all, watch. He just said, I think 5 times there, watch, 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 watch. You don't know when he's coming. But it's like a guy on a far journey. The boss said, hey, do your job. I'm coming back. I'm not going to tell you when, but I want you ready when I come back. And so the servants say, I'm going to stay on the ball because I don't know when he's coming. I'm going to keep doing my job. I'm not going to lay around and sleep and figure, well, I know he's not coming back this week. It's not like that. It's not like a man when his wife is gone and trying to clean the house and trying to do it all in 5 minutes when she's coming back. It's not like that. When you hear her pulling the driveway, you begin hiding things. That's not the way it's supposed to be. And God says, I want you to be ready all the time because you don't know when he's coming back. But it says, watch. Watch. You might all of a sudden, somebody in the roof says, hey, you know what? I saw a wagon coming. It looked like the boss's. And you see signs. Maybe somebody comes and says, hey, make sure that, I just got a message from town, and they said, make sure all the food all the stock is all stocked, so there's plenty of food in case we have to cook a meal, a big meal. That might have been the boss saying that. You know what, guys? We better be on our feet, because you see signs of it coming. Just like you see signs of the birth coming. As you see labor pains coming, watch. Why? So all of a sudden, the wife says, you know, these are getting a lot stronger. Something's different's happening here. You know what? I better call my husband. I better call the babysitter. I better start making some plans because something's happening. And that's what we are supposed to do as Christians. He can come at any time, but once we see signs, we start saying, okay, we're getting close here. And it says, don't let that day come upon you unaware. Watch, therefore. Watch, and stay busy and serve God and do all those things. Things come to pass, but that is not the end. In fact, in Matthew 24 again, things happen and things come to pass, but the end is not yet. Back to Matthew. And in 24 and verse 4, and Jesus answered and said unto them about those questions, about the times and the seasons, take heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and deceive many. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. So it's not the end. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in divers places. All these things are the beginning of sorrows, the birth pangs, and that's what that is. And you have that. It's not the end, but it's signaling, you know what? You better start getting ready. You better start getting ready, because once you start seeing these things, you know it's the kind of thing that kind of shows you things coming. It's like signs. So you come into your neighborhood one time, and all of a sudden you see some guys in the street, and they got these little camera, and he's looking through a little lens, and some of the guys holding this thing with numbers on it out down the street, and they're doing some surveying. You're kind of like, wonder why they're doing that. And then suddenly you see some guy walking around on the property, and he's with a suit, and they're looking at the vacant lot down the street from you, and they start looking around, and then another week later, you see some guy coming around, he starts measuring property lines, stuff like that, and you're going, what's going on with that property down there? Then all of a sudden they put up a sign, a public use notice, and it says, we're looking for public input on putting 25 houses on this 1 acre, which is what they do nowadays, it seems like, and they cram all together, and we're going to put all these houses there, and we're looking at this thing, and all of a sudden some guy comes by a couple months later, and he starts putting little bows around certain trees, and starts doing those things. You know, all those are signs that a subdivision's coming. Now, in the People's Republic of King County, it doesn't happen quickly. It might be 6 months, might be a year, might be 2 years. But you're seeing signs that, you know what? I'm going to lose my forest next to my house. And this stinks. And you can start vandalizing the things. No. But you see that. Don't do that. And you see the signs of what's coming. But they're not tearing down the trees yet. You can still walk in the forest. They're not plowing down everything. The construction workers aren't out there yet. But it's signs of what's coming. So the Bible says there's signs. It's not the end. He says, don't be troubled. This isn't the tribulation here. This isn't the end of things. This isn't Jesus destroying the world. He's not coming back. It's not about the melt with fervent heat. It's not the end. It's not that. But know your salvation draws nigh. Know you're getting close to this thing. Know that this world's getting close to the end, and kind of get a little detached from so many cares about this world and start caring about the next one and eternity and preparing to meet God and do those things. Try to do that. Matthew 24, again, and he says in verse 33, so likewise, when ye shall see all these things, know that it is near, even at the doors. Again, it's just showing you in each of these passages with different things that when you see these signs, you know it's getting close. Down to verse 44, therefore, be also ready, for in such an hour as ye think not, the Son of Man cometh. So you don't really know. I don't know when Jesus is coming back. I don't know if Jesus is coming back next month or in a week or at the end of the service today. I don't know if he's coming back. Maybe we started the service today because he's going to come back early and he needs you to hear the rest of the sermon. I don't know. I don't know if he's coming back in 100 years. I have no idea. All I can do is look for the signs and be ready. Because he can come anytime. But there will come a time, Jesus says, where things change. And those who are watching will say, we're getting ready for labor here. And a lot of stuff's happening. And so we have the entire Bible now. Even people in the New Testament times didn't have the entire Bible. And there's a lot of passages they wouldn't have had. We got the whole picture now. We can see everything that needs to happen. And what happens is, just like I can see the people surveying and people doing this and that, I can kind of know what's going to happen. It starts happening ahead of time. The things get set up. So, for example, and we'll get into some things next week. In the end times, Israel's a nation. Okay? You say, yeah, Israel's a nation. But throughout history, Israel wasn't a nation. Israel, in the time we're reading right here, Israel's not a nation. When Jesus is speaking this, Israel's not a country. Okay? The strange thing is, Jesus is saying the temple's going to be destroyed, not left one stone left upon another. Strange thing. Within 10 verses, he says, the Temple Mount and the temple are going to be defiled. And the abomination of desolation is going to be done there. And it's going to be, the Antichrist is going to be on this Temple Mount, defiling the temple and setting up an idol in the temple. And they're going, you just said it's going to be destroyed. Well, it's going to be thousands of years. But see, Israel was taken in captivity and never really became a nation again since 700 years before Christ. And it wasn't a nation, and we'll cover this next week more than likely. It wasn't a nation, It didn't have to be a nation. So we know during the tribulation, it is a nation, and there's a temple built there, and that a bunch of things happen. The Bible doesn't say Israel has to become a nation before Jesus comes back. We just know that during the tribulation, Israel is a nation. So maybe I have got good Bible teachers and commentaries who say, look, it's obvious since Israel will never be a nation again because they're scattered around the world. It's not going to happen naturally. The land's full of their enemies, and they're scattered around the world. They don't have the same culture, the same language. They couldn't become. This is written in 1890, and he says, so what it seems to be obvious is when the treaty with the Antichrist is signed, that will allow Israel to become a nation. It's a really good guess for his time. But a miracle happened, and Israel became a nation. So we can say, you know what? We're already there with that one. And so in other words, Jesus could have come back in 1500. He could have come back before 1948. But that Israel is a nation, we say, okay, check. We see that things begin to happen, begin to line up, begin to happen. I'm going to show you, I'm just going to do a few today of signs of the times that we can look at. And I'm not going to say, and by the way, I'm not saying every single one is happening. Every single one None of them have to happen. Jesus says, you don't know when I'm coming, but when you start seeing these things, know it's coming nigh. So we'll probably will see some of these things, and we can start looking at signs of the times. And so we can look at that. If we go back to chapter 24, and we look back at this passage here, just 4 through 7, it says, take heed no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. I don't think that this sign has been happening a ton, but it's beginning to happen. Being involved in the Philippines, there's two massive ministries in the Philippines right now where the leader, and it calls himself a Christian church, says he's Jesus. And you will see that more and more. You'll see it more in America. You'll see it around more and more that you'll find false prophets. And we'll maybe touch on that a little bit later. That's not one of the ones I'm touching on today. And he says, you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. You understand, in world history, from what I've read, if you look at the history of the world, the best guess people have trying to look around the world and all the history of it is the best guess in the history of the world has been 39 years of total peace where they couldn't find a war going on. Okay? Humans are always fighting. Okay? They're always at war. There's wars going on. There's a bunch of wars going on right now. You don't know about all of them, but there's just always wars going on. Although, but you know, things change in the 20th century. Okay, if you look at the wars, and they're probably best guess is by people who look at, rough numbers, probably in the history of the world until 1900. You take all the Babylonian wars and the Persian wars and the Greek wars and Attila the Hun and the Mongols and the everything. They're all over the Roman Empire fighting with the Goths and Visigoths and all. There's a lot of wars that have gone on. You go back and you trace history up till 1900. They guess roughly about 40 million people were killed in wars. 40 million until 1900. In the 20th century, 231 million were killed by wars in one century. 231 million were killed. In other words, you've got 5 times as many die in 1 year, in 1 century, than in every other war in the history of the world combined. And rumors of wars, and you'll hear more about that, and you'll hear all of a sudden some wars that might happen, and this and that, and it's wars and rumors of wars, and then it says, nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. Now that's kind of an interesting thing, because kingdoms have not risen against kingdoms, okay, since the Romans destroyed the Greeks. A kingdom is not a nation. The Roman Empire would be a kingdom. The Greek Empire would be a kingdom. The Persian Empire would be a kingdom. A kingdom is a massive swath that owns a whole bunch of things. But kingdoms will begin to fight against kingdoms. And you'll find, and that kind of happened in World War I and World War II. You had massive groups of nations, the Allies and the Axis and kingdoms. But you'll begin to hear of people lining up to fight each other. And it'll happen more and more, and you will see that. That's one of the things that hey, this isn't the end, but hey, say, oh, look at that, that's happening. A couple of things here I want to focus a little bit more on and really get into. It says, for nations to rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom, and we see those things. For the end again is not yet. Okay, but then he says, for nation shall rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places. I want to talk about earthquakes for a minute. And we're going to bring some up on the screen in just a minute here. But I just did some work on earthquakes. Earthquakes, of course, a couple of points that just need to be said about earthquakes. First of all, we didn't always have sensors in the grounds. Okay, and so there'd be earthquakes that people didn't know about, but major earthquakes, usually you heard about them. You can go back and they can have heard about how, because people write about massive earthquakes, they thought it was a major sign from the heavens, stuff like that, and they would write about them, and then geologists can go back to that area, and they actually find the epicenter of the earthquake. They can look at the earth, and they can look at the crust, they can look at all kinds of things, and they can find out, and they can do a really good guess on how big that earthquake was. And some of these things, and I was looking back at earthquakes history, I was looking at earthquakes, they're talking about, this one, it looked like it was about, 8.1 to 8.3 back in 1704. They can do a lot of work on that stuff. So, a lot of old earthquakes we don't know much about. A lot of previous earthquakes we don't know a lot about, but we do have pretty good records for the last 120 years, 130 years. And then, starting in the 70s, we have excellent records. And we know a lot of things, and we can compare even going back to the 70s. A couple things here. The USGS, U.S. Geological Survey, which is the world's best authority on earthquakes, what they expect in a year is 16 major earthquakes in the world. A major earthquake is 7.0 to 7.9. We expect 16 of those as an average year, plus one what they call a great earthquake every 20 years. A great earthquake is 8.0 or larger. Okay? And those are very rare. They said about once every 20 years you get one 8.0 or larger. And you will, that's called a great earthquake. So you're only supposed to have one of those every 20 years. Those great earthquakes supposed to happen every 20 years. We had one in 2017, one in 2018, and we've had one in 2019. Supposed to have once every 20 years. We've had one every year the last 3 years of those great earthquakes. Between 2004 and 2014, we had 18 of them. In 10 years, we had 18. They're supposed to happen once every 20 years. That's according to NBC. They had that. The 16 major earthquakes, you can bring that first one on earthquakes up there, is the USGS chart. That is the major earthquakes. Do you see an increase? If you can't read that, it's very small. This is 1900 and 1955. This is 2000 right here. These are the number of quakes that are happening here. And you can just see what's going on. You say, well, they can detect them better. You could detect them just fine here. They could detect them in the 80s and 70s. And these aren't tremors that they're recording. These are earthquakes. These are the bigger ones. And the number is going massively up. By the way, just so you know, according to traditional science, earthquakes should be diminishing. Because when the world was more hot and the plates were floating more, it's all cooling down, and everything should be more settled than it used to be. But we're spiking. We're spiking. We exceeded since 1973, when they really took exact notes and had got the Richter scale set up all around the world. You're supposed to exceed. We exceeded 16 major earthquakes, which is supposed to be the average. Now listen to the years here. In 1973, when they really got exact on this thing, so you're supposed to have 16 major earthquakes. We exceeded that. Let's see. They exceeded that since 1973. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 times, okay? They exceeded only 14 times since 1973. The years were 1976, 1990, 1995, 1999, 2007, 2009, 2010, 2011, 2013, 2015, 2016, 2017. See the pattern there? You skip 14 years, and now you're getting it mostly every year, but sometimes it skips a year, where it exceeds what they expect. And they still say it. By the way, the USGS still says it should only be 16 a year. That should be an average. That's about average. It shouldn't exceed that often. And it's exceeded almost every year right now. And it's having that. These major earthquakes, 8.0 is a massive, historic, devastating earthquake. The one in Honshu, Japan, the one in the major island, March 11, 2011, was a 9.0. To understand a 9.0, 9.0 is so powerful. Okay, the earthquake in Haiti that devastated Port-au-Prince, that earthquake killed somewhere around 200,000 people. It was so devastating. The one in Japan was 5,000 times more powerful. That earthquake was so powerful in Japan that it was so powerful. That earthquake was, it ripped the crust of the earth 150 miles long and 50 miles wide. It just ripped it open. It moved the main island of Japan. Almost all of Japan is on one island. That big island, Honshu. It moved the island 8 feet. It messed up the GPSs. Please get back on road, and you're on the road because it moved it 8 feet. It moved that massive island 8 feet. It actually changed the axis of the earth 6 inches. The entire axis of the earth was moved by that earthquake. It was so massive. It was such a powerful quake. It's such an incredible quake. And these things aren't supposed to happen very often. And these things are unbelievable. Of the 10 most powerful earthquakes in history, and they can look back, and the big ones, the ones that are 9.0 are very easy to find. You can see they disrupted the entire layout of the land, the earth. They move things, they crack things, and they know where they are in those things. Of the 10 most powerful in history, since Israel became a nation in 1948, 6 of the most powerful have happened since 1948. Of 10 in history. They're incredibly powerful. Those things are happening. And that's of the most powerful ones, they're getting more powerful. They're getting more powerful. And it's not just measurements. We've been able to measure them again. We've been able to measure them since the 70s. Very well. 60s we can measure them. And we're seeing a massive increase. So when you look at things like this, you can kind of say, there's earthquakes, and it's kind of changing there. It's not the same as it always was. Now we're getting, and you go to the Ring of Fire. They just had a massive one in southern Philippines, and our workers are just in one in the northern Philippines. They've always had earthquakes in the Philippines, but they have records of them, and they're getting more powerful. Now they don't have to get more powerful for Jesus to come back, but those are signs. Those are signs. And when you see things like this, and when you say there's supposed to be 16 a year, and now we're in 2009, 2010, 2011, 2013, 2015, 2016, when you start seeing it exceed the number that's expected, and they don't change the number, they say, no, this is abnormal. And when you don't have it at all between 1976, you never exceed that 16 major earthquakes between 1976 and 1990 once. Never once you exceeded in that whole time, and now it's going year after year. You say, it's exceeding those things. And when 6 of the 10 most powerful in history, from everything you could possibly tell, have happened since the rebirth of Israel, you say, wow, there's an increase of earthquakes. Now, there's people who say there's no increase, but when you really dig into the number, yeah, there's massive increases. And you can say, well, things are changing. Look, you can say there's a natural explanation for it. There probably is. But you're just seeing those increases and those things. When NBC says there's a 265% increase in great earthquakes, there's 18 great earthquakes between 2004 and 2014 when they're supposed to happen once every 20 years. And you have a 265% increase in that time period. When people are saying stuff like that, you kind of perk your head and say, that's weird. That's weird. And you say, man, maybe there's some signs of the times. Other signs of the times, let me take you to Revelation a little bit and show you some things here. Revelation chapter 13. So again, if we're starting to feel contractions here, that's okay. You know why? Because the world needs fixed. Doesn't mean you don't stop working. That's foolishness. It's not biblical. The Bible says, occupy till I come. You go to work. You take care of your business, you pay your bills, you do the things you're supposed to do. You don't sit on some weird hilltop and look up at the sky. No. You go and you continue on in life. It shows every single parable about Jesus coming back says, stay busy, occupy till I come, be busy and work and work for God and do all the things you're supposed to do. But we see these things. So in the end times, you have a man called the Antichrist come out, and he has a false prophet, and the Antichrist becomes a world leader, a dictator, and in the middle, he seems like a real peaceful guy and a real nice guy for 3.5 years, and then all of a sudden, at the middle of the tribulation, it's a 7-year period, he reveals his true colors, and he begins to be an evil person who begins killing Christians and killing anybody who doesn't worship him and take a mark. And here in Revelation and chapter 13 and verse 15, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark of or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. I do not know what the 666 means yet. I believe it's a technology thing. We'll understand later. It'll be some kind of code, but I don't know that for sure. But you understand, people looked at this for a long time, and you can go back and read old commentaries. When you look at this, no man, if they don't have the mark of the beast, so if you don't have the mark or the number or his name imprinted on you, you get your head cut off, you get killed. But you cannot buy or sell unless you have that mark. There's some kind of mark. And so everybody kind of wondered, how in the world, look, I've been all over the world and traveled all over. How in the world are you going to enforce that? How is some guy in Europe going to say you can't buy or sell anything in Africa? Think if you're living in 1000 AD, or and you're living in 200 AD, or living it in 1920, and you look at this passage saying no man in the world can buy or sell unless they have a mark. How are you going to enforce that? Look, you can always go down. Look, you can go down. You're in Africa. You can go down and you can go down to the market and you can give somebody some cash. They're going to take it. You can go in a black market and you can always have. What if you're not going to take gold? You're telling me you can't go overpay some guy and he's not going to look at your hand too closely when you're going to pay him for a bag of rice. You're going to pay him $1,000? How are you going to enforce that? How is somebody in Europe, which is probably where the Antichrist is going to come from, how is he going to enforce that on somebody in Chad or Nigeria or Kenya or Zimbabwe? How is he going to enforce that? How are they going to say, yeah, nobody can buy and sell our country unless they have your number on their hand? It looked impossible. And so what everybody has always conjectured is that what it's going to be, it's going to be a cashless society. But nobody understood how. How are you going to have a cashless society? And then back in the 70s, you got this thing called a barcode. And the barcodes aren't... How many remember when there wasn't a barcode to scan and the lady at the counter just went all day? Remember that? Those ladies, they had carpal tunnel by the time they were 30. I mean, that's all they did. They just type in all these little things all the time. But the 149, 212, and they just did this the whole time. 3 times 164. And they just did it the whole time. And then they got the barcode, and all of a sudden, it went bleep. That's kind of cool. I remember that. And a lot of the products didn't have it, but some of them had it. And people kind of said, man, maybe we'll have a barcode code on it somehow, and they can expand that thing. So all of a sudden, that barcode will be able to, you got to have it on every. If you don't have it on your hand, then they won't let you scan anything, so scan your hand first, and then they'll scan the product, something like that. Maybe that's how they'll do it, and then you can pay once they've scanned your code. That made sense. That's a good guess, right? If you don't have a code to scan, then they can't scan the rest of the stuff, and they won't say anything because they couldn't scan your hand. Okay, but how are you going to get away from cash? People have little shops. People can barter. They can sell their neighbor. They can sell the guy down the street. Guy can drive up in a truck and say, hey, give me some gold. Give me some gold coins. I'll give you some beans. How are you going to stop all that? And what we've always assumed is maybe a cashless society, somehow that they would do that, the technology would come along where unless you had something, you couldn't buy because there wouldn't be any cash, because the cash is always going to work. And I've got some silver coins and stuff like that, and they're worth money, and somebody could take those things, precious metals and all that stuff, but you can't buy or sell. How we enforce that? It's a strange thing. In 2014, though, the first microchip was approved for human medical, 2004, was approved for human medical records. In 2004, some company came out and they said, you know what? We can put on a little tiny microchip, and on that microchip, we can put all your medical information. So if you're unconscious, we can take a little scan and go bleep, and we'll able to pull up your medical records and find out, oh, they're in a diabetic coma, obviously. And people said, that's a good idea. And so they came out with that, and they proved it. They said, this is safe to be inside of you, and they put it in people's hands. And so people kind of said, well, that's nothing to do with buying or selling, but, I don't know if I want one of those things. And then they started putting them in dogs and cats in case you lost your dog or cat. And all that did is just transmit a little beacon to tell where you were. That's not buying or selling, no big deal. Not too worried about that. And then they said, well, let's put it in the kids too. So if a kid gets kidnapped, that sounds pretty good too. That's not buying or selling. Just kind of getting us used to it. Kind of getting used to that stuff. 2006, a company in Cincinnati put a microchip in their hands that would open the doors at a business. And so you'd walk into your business and you just go bleep. And that way, you'd have to worry about losing your keys. You didn't have to worry about women losing the keys all the time. And am I in trouble? And how many women here do not lose your keys? How many women lose your keys but you don't want to raise your hand? And how many men in here, by the way, lose their keys? Raise their hand. Okay, well, look, more men than women. What's wrong with you? And so you didn't have to worry about men losing their keys. And so they put the microchip in the hand, and they walk up to the bleep, and they found it wasn't a very good system because somebody could scan that code and take technology off it, and it wasn't very secure. But it just kind of taken us along. We started getting articles. I started looking up articles. If the articles are in 2017, they're completely obsolete and archaic right now. This technology is going so fast. Did you know in African markets, how many people have been to an open market somewhere in the world? How many of you have been in an open market somewhere in the world? Okay, an open market is, don't think of Pike Place Market, okay? It's not what it is. They act like that's what it is. It's not the same. Open market is a bunch of tents, basically, maybe, and it's just a bunch of people, and each little tent has their little booth, and they sell some clothes or some jewelry or whatever, and you walk up, and you never pay the price they put on those things. You argue with them forever, and they love it, and it's and when they, by the way, best thing to do, what I usually do is I just have one of the nationals with me because they see me and they see the American and they think, big money. They don't know. And so I say, hey, go get the price for that thing right there for that piece of jewelry. And they'll come back and they'll say it's $4. And I'll walk up and I'll say, how much a piece of jewelry? $11. I said, you told him $4. And then the argument starts. And those markets in Africa, somebody who's traveled and knows that, they told me, in the markets, they almost never exchange cash anymore. They all use tapping with phones. In Nairobi markets, they're all tapping phones. And most of the transactions are done that way now. But it goes a lot farther than that. It goes a lot farther than that. We got a video here. Let's hit the lights there, and we'll show you a video. This is a recent video somebody sent me. And we'll see if our technology works here. But this video is about what's happening right now in Sweden. Sweden.
Burger goes to work. He doesn't need ID. And he doesn't need money. In fact, much of what he needs to get through the day is hidden right there, just below the surface, in his hand.
You like to touch it?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Oh, weird. Yeah, it's like a grain of rice.
Yeah, a grain of rice.
Embedded in his hand is a microchip that serves as his keys, his ID, and his wallet.
Yeah, it's all in chip, so I use it like to get around the building.
Buy snacks.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's buy some snacks.
Exactly.
So I can't open it.
No.
Okay.
So what I need to do
Catch
is
that?
I need to first blip my chip, and it will log me in, and from there I get access to the fridge.
Popular TV shows like Black Mirror have imagined chips as part of a dystopian future.
Install ingrain procedure with local anesthetic and you're good to go.
In Sweden, the microchips are already here.
The microchip implants use the same technology that's in contactless credit cards.
Which have made cash pretty much obsolete in Sweden.
No cash.
At this tech fair, a chipping event for those on the cutting edge, merging their hands with this new technology.
I thought it would be fun, right?
The process is simple and swift. A pinch of the skin, and in a matter of seconds, the chip is inserted. The transformation is complete. As for the pain,
I barely felt it.
but even in this nation of early adopters, not everyone is racing to get chipped.
Feel less human. I will feel like a robot.
I think, it's so much more data can go into this, when it's in your body.
There's no central registry tracking how many people are chipped, but biohacker Hannes Wellblood estimates between 5 and 10,000.
In the future, do you think everyone is going to be chipped?
I think it'll be voluntary, but I am certainly convinced that millions of people will find it very, very valuable to have a smart device under their skin.
Human microchipping may be our future, but in Sweden, it's already reality. Sarah Harmon, NBC News, Stockholm.
Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for...
Did you catch a couple things there? Number one, did you catch that she couldn't buy? She couldn't buy from that. She couldn't get a pop out of that thing. She couldn't get into it. You had to have a chip to get it, to buy it. And then he bought it like this. Bought. And he bought it. And they're eliminating cash. A lot of the places, only 3% of all transactions in Sweden are cash. 3%. And look, it's going to be so easy to sell. It's going to be pretty simple. If you don't, this is going to end crime. No one will ever steal your credit card or your wallet. The only thing they can do is walk up with your hand and say, scan your hand they cut off. It's kind of suspicious. Why do you have a black hand? You're white. You're like doing this thing, holding it and scanning it. And it's, but it's getting pretty hard for imagine not having to carry a credit card or anything like that. Imagine you just walk up to the store, takes it out of your account, bleep, automatic deposit, just goes into your hand. What are people without hands? Put it in their forehead. Little scanners, bleep. It's like they do with your little Fred Meyer card or whatever you use. Just scan it. They'll scan the people without a hand, their forehead. This isn't far away. So we don't know. We can say, is this the mark of the beast? I don't know, but the mark of the beast is going to be easy. We're there now. We have the technology now. And all we have to do is say, this is going to stop the terrorists. Because, to be honest with you, the Patriot Act took away a whole bunch of your rights, and most of you don't care to protect you from terrorism. By the way, I'm super independent and crazy. If you could give me a line at the airport, which I'll take the risk, and I don't have to go through security, I'm taking that line. I'll take a risk. I'm not going to, I don't, look, if they're going to blow up my flight from Boise to Portland, whatever, I'm not that worried about it. I don't like the Big Brother looking over everything I do. Every transaction you do. But most people don't care anymore. Most people just want ease, security. Oh, I don't have to carry my wallet. If I forget my wallet, it doesn't matter. I didn't forget my hand. And our world's going to go for it. If you're kidnapped, they're going to find you. It's going to stop so much crime. The Antichrist is going to come in and say, we're going to be able to stop global crime with this thing. We're going to be able to, you won't be able to have people go. You won't be able to have, you can stop human trafficking. Look how many things it's going to make the world a better place. And all you got to do. But you know what? There are still those outlier people, and those outlier people don't want to become part of our system. And they're going to, once they get rid of cash, how are you going to make a transaction? How are you going to go sneak around in the world and when there is no cash and you got to use the microchip, how are you going to buy or sell anything when cash is gone? If they're doing it in primitive, in third world countries, they're walking up their phones and going tap. It's not far away. Do you see how we can see some signs of the times? See the mark of the beast, isn't it? Where they're putting this thing. Now we kind of seeing, okay, this is probably what it's going to be. It's a microchip in the hand. It's probably what the mark of the beast is. Or in the forehead. And you can see the technology. You can see the way that is. Something I learned this morning. The word for mark here in Revelation 13, chinoga, the word mark is a fascinating word. The word mark means a scratch from a sharpened point, an etching like something sculptured. So that's a fascinating term, a scratch from a sharpened point. That's the word, the mark. I never looked at that word markup before. That's what it literally means. Could that be what they just did with them? By the way, don't take any chips in your hands. By the way, those who take the mark of the beast, whatever it is, and it's something serious, it's maybe a little more serious than this. I don't think these people, everybody tonight is taking the mark of the beast yet, because the mark of the beast is so serious that you're worshiping the image, and you can never go to heaven no matter what you want to do. You are lost for eternity if you take it. Whatever it is, that mark of the beast can be something really serious and really big. Don't take that. Don't take that in your hand. Don't even start the process. Don't get used to it. And do things differently. Why? Because we're coming toward it. We're coming toward it, and you're going to want to be wise about this thing, and be careful about this thing. These are signs. These are the beginning of sorrows. They're going to say these outliers, these people are just kind of crazy fanatics, and they don't want to take the technology that's going to make the world safer, and they're radicals, and the Christians during the tribulation that are saved, the Bible says the Antichrist is going to wear out the saints of the Most High. He's going to kill a lot of them, cut a lot of heads off, and that's what it'll be. So we got these things. Anybody see any signs of the times? Anybody? So I'm not saying, now I can give you some signs, probably, I don't know if that one, they don't all have to happen. You just have to start having some contractions. And then we can say, okay, let's get ready. We're kind of seeing these things. These things are not to scare you. Jesus is coming. That's a good thing for us. Comfort one another with these words. It just means we shouldn't be taken unaware. We should be ready for it. What does this make us do? Now, here's what I want you to understand. This week and next week and last week, I'm going to emphasize these things a little bit differently. But all this stuff is not to say, wow, that's cool. It's to make you do something. First of all, if you don't know Jesus Christ as Savior, we might all disappear in a second here. And you'll be left alone in this room. Because if you're not saved, when Jesus raptures his church, you're not, whenever that happens, you're stuck. And you're facing everything. You're going to have to resist the mark of the beast and get your head cut off probably. Be saved. Accept Jesus Christ your Savior today. If you've never been born again, be born again today so you can be comforted by Jesus coming, not worried about it. Next is watch. We read that, but I want to go back to Mark again and read that, what it commands us to do. Pay attention. And the next 2 weeks, I hope you're here because we're going to tell you to watch and help you that. Mark 13, we're going to help you watch. We're going to watch a little bit for you and find up some things. If you find some things that fit some end time scenarios, you can send it to me and we can look at them. But verse 30, Mark chapter 13 and verse 37, what I say unto you, I say unto all, watch. Why? Verse 36, lest coming suddenly he find you sleeping. Spiritually asleep. You're not serving God. You're just playing games. Someday I'm going to start serving. Someday I got to get this fixed. Someday, and you're just spiritually sleepy. I need to get baptized, someday I'll kind of do that. I need to, start witnessing, but, I'm kind of tired. Watch lest he find you sleeping, because he's going to give some signs they're going to tell us. And you don't want to be caught sleeping. Number 2, don't be too attached to this world. I said it last week, Pastor, I did. But it's part of the signs of the times. It commands us, 1 John 2, Love not the world, neither this is verse 15 through 17. Love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, the pride of life, is not of the Father, but is of the world. And the world passes away, and the lust thereof. But he that does the will of God abides forever. What does it say? It says, don't get too attached to this world. Your fancy thing, your fancy car, your fancy technology, your fancy house. Don't get so attached to that stuff. I mean, enjoy if you have it, but you know what? You're better off giving money to missions than driving a $200,000 car. Yeah. I'm not saying don't have a decent car. I'm just saying don't get too attached to this world and the things of this world. Amen. This world's going to burn up. And don't get too attached to it. If any man loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him. The world passes away, all the things of it. By the way, don't be a body worshiper of your own body and live your whole life to get. Your body's going to disappear someday. I'm not saying don't stay in decent shape and take care of yourself. I'm just saying don't put all your time and investment. Invest in people. Invest in things that will last forever. Invest in the cause of Christ. And spend your time and energy in things that will matter, not on things that you can stare in the mirror about or brag about or drive or live in. Don't make your life about things. If God gives you nice things, and praise God for them, but don't get too attached. You're gonna lose them. Number 3, have hope. 1 John chapter 3 talks about this, and it's a wonderful passage about looking for Jesus. 1 John 3. Have hope. It says this, behold what manner of love the Father hath bestowed upon us, that we should be called the sons of God. Therefore the world knoweth us not, because it knew him not. Beloved, now are we the sons of God, and it doth not yet appear what we shall be when we get to heaven. We don't know exactly what we're going to be like. But we know that when he shall appear, we shall be like him. For we shall see him as he is. When Jesus comes, we'll see him what he's like, and we'll be put in a glorified body, and we will become like Jesus, lose our sinful natures and all those things. And every man that hath this hope in him purifieth himself, even as he is pure. 1 Thessalonians chapter 4 puts it this way. It says, the Lord himself shall ascend from heaven with the shout of the archangel, and the trump of God, and the dead in Christ shall rise first, and we which are alive and remain unto the coming of the Lord shall be gathered together, meet him in the air, and so shall we ever be with the Lord. Wherefore comfort one another with these words. My health is terrible. It's just, my body's never going to recover. Have hope. Jesus is coming. Amen. But there's so much sin. What's the next generation going to do? Have hope. Jesus is coming. Yeah. But man, everything's so messed up. Then good, Jesus is coming. But look how bad the world's getting. Yeah, I mean, Jesus is coming. Amen. This world is temporary. This is just a quick little thing. It's like a bad senior year in high school. Well, life's coming. You have a better life. But it's so bad right now. Look, you'll forget about your problems when you have a good rest of your life. And this world is just a temporary little time period. It's not something we should get so wrapped up in and so upset about when we have Jesus coming. And if the worse it gets, that means the closer Jesus is to coming. Next, be purified. We read that in Mark 13 to be ready. But in verse 3 it says, or verse 3 and 4, and every man that hath this hope in him, 1 John 3, purifieth himself even as he is pure. What does that mean? It means those who are looking forward to Jesus coming become purified Christians. It changes your life when you realize Jesus is coming. And in all the parables, the master's coming, you don't know when. The bridegroom's coming, you don't know when. All of them prepared themselves, as the parables were, preparing yourselves to face Jesus someday. That when he shall appear, we may not be ashamed before him at his coming. And it purifies you and makes you ready for Jesus to come. Makes you live the Christian life, not as some casual game, not as something that's just a Sunday thing, but something that you live all week long. And you're ready if Jesus comes on Tuesday or Wednesday or Friday, you are living for Jesus. It makes you purify yourself. And then the last thing, it makes you work up. Our memory verse, Romans 13. Let me finish up with that. But we're not ready to leave church yet. We still got to do a couple things before we leave, because I preached early. Romans 13. Really good verse about this. And this is our memory verse for this week, and I hope you'll memorize it. Romans 13. And verse 11, and that knowing the time, that now it is high time to awake out of sleep, for now is our salvation nearer than when we believed. The night is far spent, the day is at hand. Let us therefore cast off the works of darkness, and let us put on the armor of light. Let's make sure that we realize the day is far spent. Let's realize that we need to go. It's time to awake out of sleep. Wake up! What are Christians doing? Playing games. Going to church and they feel like it. Reading their Bible when it's convenient. Witnessing when everything's perfect. When somebody comes up and asks them. Not taking the gospel. When we give like we have 1,000 years on earth to rack up treasures in heaven. When we do not give sacrificially. When we pray in a casual way, we're sleepily praying and not praying passionately for the salvation of souls and for the strengthening of Christians and the helping the needy. When we're living a casual Christian life, we're sleepy. Boss is coming and you're asleep. And you better wake up. You better wake up. The same thing you do when you're driving on the road at 70 and you see the police officer on the side of the road and you become a very urgent, very attentive driver. And you see, 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock. You know, that's not even what they do anymore. It's supposed to be something over here now. 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock. Right in the middle of the lane. I mean, you're all of a sudden alert, right? Keeping everything. You ever have a policeman drive behind you? And you keep right in the lines. You use your turn signal every single time just right. Why? And Jesus is coming. Jesus is coming. So wake up. Look at what's happening in the world. You know how fast the world is changing right now? It's crazy. And not for good in a lot of ways. It's okay. Jesus is coming. So be ready. Let's be ready. And let's do these things. Let's pray. Father, thank you for a chance to preach your word today. I pray as we this week and next week, maybe even the next week, we'll look at signs of the times. I pray that we be people who wake up. I pray people who are alert, people who serve you with their whole hearts. I pray that we would watch. And I pray we'd realize, Lord, that we've got to detach from the things and the priorities of this world and live for eternity. And Lord, may we just have hope that Jesus is coming and not be down and realize it's getting closer. It's getting closer. And may we do these things. We thank you for the word that teaches us these things. May we make the decisions we should if we thought Jesus was coming back tomorrow. When we live our lives today and tomorrow like Jesus is coming back before next Sunday's service. Lord, we pray we would do these things and glorify you, and you do a mighty work in our lives and help us to see the signs of the times and to make the difference in our lives because of them. We pray this in Jesus' name.